holler at y'all about this inmate escape, man. Now this is crazy, man. So you gonna tell me 10 inmates escaped from a jail in Louisiana? Now how the hell could something like this happen? Now so far the information is coming out that the guys escaped from jail, and they was able to escape because one of the people who worked there was able to cut the water off on one of the actual pipes that sit behind a particular sink. So by doing this, he was able to get the guys where they can get themselves out of the place. And so 10 of them was able to escape. They got footage of them running, and all this shit is really next level. You know what I'm saying? The guys probably been locked up for a while, but they are pretty young, and I think that that's something to really think about because none of these guys got fear of actually popping out, and what's the repercussions of actually running because if you run at jail, they're gonna lock your ass up even harder. You're gonna be sitting in your cell crying. So you can see behind me right here, this look like the cell where it happened. This sink back here or toilet can be moved to the side, and right behind it, you can exit. But if this water is running, you can't get through the water to get to the cables or the cage to knock down the next bars. So that looked like a small little cut. The fact that they could even slide through there is crazy because I don't think I could have made that. I'd have had to sat my ass back and been like, well, shit, let me put this sink back in order so I could fucking lose some weight for 3 months and then I can get my ass through this hole. But they was able to slide through that motherfucker and get themselves free. And that's crazy because when you think about it, they're going down. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, they're not finna let you break out of jail and go be free. 10 of them escaped. Look like they caught up to like 5 so far or 7 so far, and they got a few more to go. And strangely enough, it's some people who actually getting locked up for helping them. So for instance, you got a lady who getting locked up who was like a grandmother to one. She gave somebody some money and then helped them out without saying something. And then you got another lady who helped them out. She drove them niggas two of them in a location to some spot. Some other lady brought a nigga something to eat. This might even be family members, but the whole point about it is that they got assistants out there. And by having assistants out there, you're going to get even more time because the people looking at you like, if you can make motherfuckers help you break out of jail, then what the fuck, we can't keep you in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Because, you can live in, white people, you can live in somebody's basement for years. You don't ever have to come out there back. Out that bitch. They be kidnapping motherfuckers and locking them in their damn basement and keeping them there for years. You know what I'm saying? This is a part of being in America. So if you want to really hide out and not be outside, you can do that. Motherfuckers got little canopies in their basements or whatever. You can step out that motherfucker and just chill for a minute and go right back indoors. And even 3, 4 in the morning, you can come outside and feel the air and shit like that and be undercover. Now, will that last forever? Because they're going to be on the fugitive list forever. It might not be worth it to be breaking out of jail because you're going to have to run for the rest of your life. And that might not be so smart because they're young. These niggas is in their 20s. So you talking about 30 years more added, with 10, 15 more years added, 7, 8 more years added to whatever the fuck you was already fighting initially. You know what I'm saying? And then you got all these white people looking stupid. I mean, man, they look dumb. They look like they hate their job. They look like, look at the cells, man. These cells, they make these cells so fucking bad. Like they real all over and shit, filthy and shit. You gotta sleep in this motherfucker every night. This your crib. Ain't no going home. You got an outfit, you stuck, and there's no leaving. And so, but they was able to jump out of there and blend in. And then there's been other breakouts. It's like been in other areas of Louisiana, other jails. People breaking out. They getting close to, you know what I'm saying, they knowing how to do it. So they break it out. Let me see what old boy got to say real quick.
The morning of the last weekend jailbreak, Andres Fuentes reports that could have prevented the 10 inmates from escaping or at least made the search for them easier.
An hour after last Friday morning's jailbreak, security camera footage shows 3 of the escaped inmates walking through the CBD. A source tells Fox 8 that the video shows convicted murderer Derek Rose, accused murderer Antoine Massey, as well as one of the other inmates, Lenton Van Buren, out on Barone Streets between Howard Avenue and Julia Street.
There you go.
The footage upsets those looking into last week's breakout, like the Metropolitan Crime Commission's Raphael Goeneche.
We know some of the failures and what went wrong. We don't know why.
His agency, along with local, state, and federal auditors, are combing through evidence to see how the breakout could have been prevented. Goeneche says it starts with personnel, with the sheriff's office saying the person watching the security cameras left momentarily to get food that morning, not watching in real time when the inmates ripped open a cell door.
And if they looked into the cell from which they escaped, they would have seen the toilet ripped from the wall and a gaping hole in the wall.
Damn.
Bonetti says jail staff had another chance to check on inmates when at 5:15 that morning, breakfast was served and some meal trays were left untouched.
Wow.
10 unclaimed trays.
Wow.
So that should have triggered a response to
What the
determine
fuck?
why 10 inmates weren't eating.
That's
The prolonged
crazy.
search has forced more than 200 law enforcement officers off of
Manpower.
regular duties to track down the remaining inmates, which worries Goyeneche.
They had to put their work aside to address this issue. And their work is sitting there piling up. And their work is
That's
not
crazy.
busy work. Their work is looking for other violent offenders.
Damn.
And the NOPD tells us that they believe that 3 of the escapees are still here in New Orleans. 2 others they believe are outside of the city limits.
That let you know them niggas was trying to get out of there for real. And then they wasn't playing, but they knew by seeing probably sitting up in the jail, they knew that they wasn't on their game. Them niggas knew. They was like, hey, these niggas playing. They ain't ready. They ain't ready. Hey, look, you know where that room is? We're going to go ahead and make this move. We not finna play with them. Look, come through. Hey, look, if I'm in there, I'm going to get that bitch open. I bet you I get that bitch off the wall. And he had to go in that cell, work out for 3 weeks and get that motherfucking power up and yank that motherfucking sink out the ground. And when they got that motherfucking sink out the ground, he let the kite go through and be like, yo, the sink up, it's up. They like, it's up? Oh, shit. I got to get out this motherfucking cell. And you see motherfucker say he broke himself out the cell. He just kept yanking that bitch until that motherfucker open. And then he got out there. I mean, that's just a lot of yanking. But they know that if you put that kind of force on them cells doors, that shit will actually break. You know what I'm saying? They in jail. They know in a way how to get out of there, but they got to take that chance. And now they walking down the street normal, like 9 p.m. Ain't no police chasing them. Now, how 10 food trays came back uneaten. And they don't go check these niggas' cell. They like, yo, they ain't hungry today. But see, Trump was going crazy when he was like, no DEI. We're not finna let anybody get these jobs no more. But when you see stuff like this, because the reason why this is such a big ordeal, I want y'all to understand how America works. This is New Orleans. So a lot of the people who work at the jail is going to be black people. So it's a black city. So now that's why they putting this much news coverage out there saying that the people that work inside this jail is not up to par. They bullshitting it. Just like Trump said, he should have never been hiring all these DI hires and everybody who ain't smart enough to be these particular jobs. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually foul. It's actually racist because those people should have probably never got hired because of past times and how they had the job. But to make it seem like what they did this particular time is enough to be so blasting them out, he just basically trying to stay within that white supremacy mindset that these guys can't operate these white institutions. And so now they're going to get rid of those guys who work there. Everybody going to get wiped out, even the sheriff, and you know who going to come in there. Because most of these prisons, most of these jails are in white cities, white enclaves, suburban areas. They're going to have all white jobs waiting on them. Within the next 3 years, they're going to all be in there. And then the people going to give you real treated, and it ain't going to be no lackadaisical bullshit because they're going to be already knowing that they watching us. And so we white anyway, so let's go ahead and do our job. So it has a lot of leverage in a bad way what the guys did, but I know they hurt. Look at the cells. The cells ain't like up to par. You know what I'm saying? They you know, he said they wasn't even walking around checking them. These guys could have got paid for breaking out. You know, letting them know just don't come through here. Just chill. We want to make a move. And then finally, because you got to think, if they knew that hole was there, that hole probably was there in that cell before they even got locked up. It's probably was just a rumor going around the jail, like, look, in that cell, nigga, if you want to break out this bitch, you know the cell. And everybody like, I ain't doing it. And then these motherfuckers like, watch me, put me in that bitch, open the damn door. I bet you I'll go out that motherfucker. Because the hole is small as a bitch. Look at that. Only a certain size human can go out that motherfucker. And then it's a gate behind it, so you probably had to do whatever you had to do to get out that second gate. So it's not easy getting out that cell. You know what I'm saying? But luckily for them, they was able to get out. And now the white boys chasing them around America, trying to lock them up for getting free. But you can see those cells is not cool. And there's 10 of them. They've been grabbing them. They've been catching them. They've been catching them, you know what I'm saying? You've been seeing the little news of them grabbing them, catching them, and locking motherfuckers back up. And it's other motherfuckers breaking out of jails. Like, it's been an epidemic, but these jails is horrible. You know, some of these places is so hard that motherfuckers is willing to risk their life and limb to get out. You know what I'm saying? And then some of this, like one guy was a convicted murderer, so that means he waiting to go upstate, and then one guy was on trial for murder. I mean, he waiting to go to trial for murder, and then they said well, allegedly that boy Anthony Massey was a person that was a continued breakout person. Like he always break out. Like this, like he broke out of jail a few times before this. So imagine this, he a breakout artist, right? He don't mind breaking out of jail. Like that ain't gonna scare him. They saying what was he even doing in that area? But they put him in the area probably knowing that if this motherfucking area can get broke out of, he the one gonna do it. And he go right in that motherfucker. They let him know where the spot at. He like watch next week we own that, and then it happened. So now you got all these people chasing him around, and and really a lot of times what we're not really taking into effect or understanding is that it'll be a shooting on site. So it's like since they already convicted for their crime or they already been arrested for their crime, they could just kill them. And that's not what they putting on the news, but that's is real. And then in a place like New Orleans, somewhere down in Louisiana, that's going to be in effect because they're going to say you're a threat to the society, you're a threat to the community. And if they find you, if they see you, it's just shoot to kill. And hopefully we take him down, and it won't have to be no further, mess behind his death or behind us having to kill him. But the guys wouldn't they willing to take that risk. You know what I mean? That's a hellified risk. And then you jumping out here with people you probably ain't even know these niggas and where y'all was locked up. But everybody came out the window or came out the little spot together. So now y'all in the group, it's like, okay, we're gonna stick together. They like other group, like we're gonna break off, we're going over here. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it all come down. Because again, they're in a black city. So they could technically blend in with the community. It's not like they're in a suburb somewhere and you the only black motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? People could actually give you an outfit, a shirt, a pair of pants, and now you back blended in the city at least a week or 2 or 3 days before motherfuckers could really get on to you. You know what I'm saying? But really at night is the way that they'll catch them because where the fuck you gonna stay? Unless you got some friends or family members that's not on the radar, it's gonna be hard to find somewhere to stay. You know what I'm saying? Plus you outdoors. And a lot of times when guys go on a run, you see sometimes they just get tired. They just be like, man, I ain't got nowhere to go out here. I'm tired of just being gone. Just fucking put me back in my cell and shit. Woo woo. And now they gotta finish out their time. You know what I'm saying? So it's no telling how much these guys gonna get for breaking out. It's no telling, but with the news hitting them this hard, they might get a hellified hit because the fact that it's this much news going about, and all they wanted to get was get free, but it's so big, like it's a big ass motherfucker. You can't cut none of this shit on without them doing updates. They fire motherfuckers. You got the state's attorney. He out there popping up saying that they didn't do no fingerprints in a cell. Like when the guys got out, they just went in that motherfucker and said they got out, and they went out there and chased them. He said y'all supposed to came in, did fingerprints, y'all supposed to came in and locked down the scene and figured out who was what and what was what. But they didn't do that, and I'm thinking that probably wouldn't have been so smart of an idea, no way. Because if it's a jail cell, it could have been 1,000 motherfuckers in that cell over time. We could have been 100 motherfuckers in that cell in a week, in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So it wouldn't even be no way of knowing whose fingerprints. Because I mean, you thinking about that, you in that dusting off fingerprints and shit. The motherfuckers have been locked up 14 years ago. You know what I'm saying? They don't clean themselves out like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but this is some of the stuff he was saying could have helped in the investigation with them actually fingerprinting the cell and knowing who was in there at that time. But they got footage. The building got footage. You got footage of them running. They got footage of them, out here in walking down the street. It's the whole place is capped with cameras. You know what I'm saying? So just like in any big city. So it probably won't be long before they snatch them all up and give them a little 1-2 punch for jumping out the window and running for their life, basically because they only run for their life. And that got to be crazy too, figuring out how you going to eat. You know what I'm saying? Figuring out where you going to go, who you going to trust. Because there's some people who will motherfucking be cool with you and shit and think that it's a motherfucking, because that's all they got to do is just say it's money on them. Hey, it's $5,000 if you tell us, and then everybody going to trick in. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's $10,000 if you say something. That's what make them breaking out of jail. Now, they probably didn't think of this when they was in there and they was on their way out the window, but then they pop on the news and say it's $25,000 if you tell us. What the fuck? Motherfuckers might tell on you that night, hey, he up in here. You know what I'm saying? So they ain't did that yet, but that could make it even more easier to get captured if somebody just walk out there and just say it's a bounty or it costs money. You know what I'm saying? To come grab you, and then you done. You know what I'm saying? So, and when they snatch you up, you get locked up for them spending money, all the manpower it took for the cop to come chase you down, and the fact that you broke out of there. Oh, you broke some shit before you did. That sink, that cost another $10,000. You like, damn. You know what I'm saying? So it's really something to think about, but the real deal is don't put yourself in that kind of scenario. Don't get popped off Don't get locked up where somebody got this kind of control over you, and to whereas your freedom is enough for you to just go ahead and break out like that. Because if you breaking out like that, they got something waiting on you, and what's waiting on you, and you ain't gonna want. You know, they got Lil Durk locked up, Diddy locked up. There's so many little rappers that didn't had their time in the industry, but now they sitting in jail somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And didn't expect that when they probably was in the damn studio making mixtapes. But you know how the shit whirl and spin, and now you sitting in the damn jail cell. It's like, how the fuck did this happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? So it's crazy, man. But those dudes got something to figure out, and I don't know if they're gonna get caught, all of them, if any of them gonna get dead or not. If any what's gonna happen behind all this, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. I want to know what y'all think about these dudes breaking out. Are they on the right path? Should they be doing this, or should they be back in their cell? Because what they did, they got convicted, they got caught.